Hello, my name is Rebecca Garcia, and today I will be telling you the story of Teeny Tiny and the Witch Woman. Once upon a time, there lived a mother who had 3 children. The big one, the middle one, and Teeny Tiny. They really liked to play a lot, but their mother always told them every day, "You guys can play anywhere in the village, but do not go into the dark forest, because your granny says that the old witch woman lives there who eats up children and uses their bones for her fence." Normally they listen to her, but this one day the big one and the middle one were feeling really bored because they already went everywhere in the village. So they suggested that they went into the dark forest. But Teeny Tiny hesitated. They made fun of him and called him a chicken. But he knew that he wasn't a chicken, or so he thought, so he went with them. He was very cautious the whole time. But as the sun fell, the shadows grew. And by the time it was time for bedtime for them, they couldn't find their way out. Teeny Tiny climbed a tree and he looked. He saw a light. He told his brothers and they followed the light. When they got to the source of the light, it was not their village, but a house with a weird-looking fence. The big one and the middle one knocked at the door, and this old woman appeared. She said, "Come in, my children. You can call me Auntie." She was scary and to be honest, really ugly. But the big one and middle one were so excited to finally have shelter that they wanted to go in. But Teeny Tiny reminded them, "Remember about the witch woman?" They were sick of him now, and they told him, "You can stay out here and get eaten by the wolves, but we're going inside for food and shelter." So Teeny Tiny went inside. While they were eating, Teeny Tiny noticed something beside him that was very big and large. He asked, "Auntie, why do you have a cage?" She explained to them, "Oh, sometimes I find stray cats, and sometimes I find stray dogs, and I put them in there." He thought, "Do you find stray children too?" When it was time to go to bedtime, she sang them a lullaby, and she didn't have the best singing voice. Before he went to sleep, he took a look outside. The moon shined at the fence, and that's when he clicked. That fence was bones. It was made out of bones. Big bones, small bones. So he didn't go to sleep. After a couple of minutes, the witch woman came upstairs and said, "Who is awake and who is asleep?" Teeny Tiny said, "The littlest one is awake." "What?" "Well, before I go to sleep, my mother cooks me an egg and I eat that." So she went downstairs, she cooked an egg, and when he ate them, she told him good night and went downstairs. But he still didn't go to sleep. Again, the witch woman came upstairs and said, "Who is awake and who is asleep?" Teeny Tiny responded, "The littlest one is awake." "What?" "Before I go to sleep, my mom gets me popcorn and raisins, and I eat it." She went downstairs. She got the popcorn and the raisins, and Teeny Tiny ate them. She told him good night and put him to sleep. After a while, she came back upstairs and said, "Who is awake and who is asleep?" He responded, "The littlest one is awake." "What?" Teeny Tiny explained to her that that the popcorn and the raisins made him thirsty, and whenever he was thirsty, his mother would get him water with a sieve. So they went downstairs, and when she bent down to grab her sieve, a bar of soap fell out of her pocket. She said, "Oops, well, I better put my magic bar of soap somewhere safe." And she put them on the counter. She put the soap, a needle, and a knife there. When she went outside to the well, he woke up his brothers quickly and told them, "She is the witch woman. Now let's scram!" They ran for their lives. By this time, the witch woman realized you can't get water with a sieve, and she started chasing them. The Teeny Tiny grabbed the bar of soap that he took from the witch woman when she wasn't looking, and he thought, well, maybe if this isn't magic, she'll slip on it and slow her down, and he threw it at her. When it hit the ground in front of her, and it turned into 1,000,000 bubbles. She tried to go through it, and she tried to go over it. It was just too big, so she had to go around it, and the chase continued. He grabbed the needle out of his pocket, and he said, well, maybe this isn't magic, but maybe it'll poke her, and she'll slow down. So he threw it at her, and it landed right in front of her, and it transformed into 1,000,000 needles. She tried to go through them and over them, but they were just too big. And now she had needles poking her. So the chase continued. And he got out the knife. And he thought, well, maybe this isn't magic, but maybe it'll cut her foot and slow her down. So he threw it at her, and it landed right in front of her. And it made a giant crack in the earth. And it was just too big. She couldn't jump over it, or through it, or around it. So she gave up and went home. But Teeny Tiny and his brothers did not stop running until they were safe with their mother. And since then, none of them has ever ventured into the dark forest again. The end.